Hey, what's up, everybody? This is a KMN 1971 back with another edition of my comic book collection spotlight. This week we'll be focusing in on Wolverine, the best there is at what he does. This video has been a long time in coming, and it will basically encompass my favorite Wolverine stories, favorite covers, favorite Slugfests, and of course some Wolverine Keys in there. So you have seen some of the books that I'm going to show you in other videos throughout the year, but basically this is a Wolverine fan appreciation video and spotlighting the highlights of my Wolverine collection. And I have been collecting this character for a long time, so let's get it on. I have a little over 100 books to show, and I still have to put in my fantasy football lineup. So kicking it off, all new Wolverine, Generations #1, as well as Marvel Legacy #1. I ended up going for the Brooks cover for the Marvel Legacy just because it was affordable. I actually liked that cover the best out of what was available, and I liked the whole retro costumes on everyone, like Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. Just obviously appeals to someone from my generation. But spoiler alert, if you've had your head under a rock, the real Wolverine returns back to the Marvel universe finally in this comic, which I think it would have had more impact if it wasn't so watered down with Old Man Logan appearing in just about all the X-Men comics and comics that the regular Wolverine used to appear in anyway. But I'm happy to have him back. I thought it was a good book, a great book actually. It was basically Marvel's version of DC Rebirth, so I'll take it. But those were like the two most latest Wolverine comics that I've purchased. Well, Wolverine related comics. My history with Wolverine started with this storyline right here. Uncanny X-Men 172 and 173. I had just started buying the X-Men with issue number 170 at the time, so I read basically the first appearance of the Morlocks, Rogue joining the team, and of course this was the aftermath, even though I didn't know it at the time, of the Wolverine miniseries by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. So these two books blew me away and sealed the deal for me. Never seen a hero like this before, and issue 173 just contains this awesome slugfest between him and the Silver Samurai. And it also made me a fan, this story arc also made me a fan of Rogue. So, very cool, very affordable. So after that, I basically started digging for X-Men back issues, whereas where I came across this. This is Uncanny X-Men number 162, and this will be number 5 on my top 5 Wolverine Slugfest. This is basically the first time Wolverine encountered the Brood, and it is just basically him slashing and gashing through the Brood throughout this whole issue. It was awesome. At number 4 on my all-time Wolverine Slugfest, I'll go with Spider-Man versus Wolverine from, I don't know, sometime in the 1980s. So this is basically the comic that I feel really elevated Wolverine as one of the elite characters in the Marvel Universe. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, the entire X-Men jobbed to Spider-Man bad in Secret Wars, I think, number 3. So it went from the whole X-Men being pawned by Spider-Man to Wolverine basically taking Spider-Man in a pretty no-holds-barred fight. So, very cool. Oops. Coming in at number 3 on my all-time Wolverine Slugfest, Uncanny X-Men number 213, beautifully rendered by Alan Davis. And this is the first time that you saw Wolverine and Sabretooth really tear into each other. It was a pretty savage fight that X-Men fans like me had not seen up to that point. Well, maybe we have. Because, or at least between him and Sabretooth, because at number 2 on my list is Uncanny X-Men number 205, and this is the first time that Wolverine threw down with Lady Deathstrike after she ended up getting hooked up with some adamantium. Once again, vicious fight. Once again, beautifully illustrated, this time by the great Barry Windsor Smith. And this is a book that belongs in anyone's Wolverine collection. And finally, number 1. It might be a little dated, but I still love it. And it comes with an iconic cover, too, so how can you go wrong? The Incredible Hulk, number 340. And kind of like Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike, this is just one of those vicious, vicious battles that wasn't a common theme back then. But this was a book that stuck with me for a while. And obviously I haven't traded it or sold it off, so it's definitely a keeper. Alright, now getting into my top 5 Wolverine stories of all time. We're going to start with at number 5. This might surprise some people. The Death of Wolverine. Once again, I knew it wasn't going to be a final death. Obviously, it's Wolverine we're talking about here. But I thought this miniseries was well done. It had some great action, incredible artwork by Steve McNiven, and I think it did a great homage of honoring Wolverine's history and greatest hit. It was like a greatest hits of his adversaries in here. You had the Samurai, you had Nitro, you had Sabretooth, Logan, Lady Deathstrike. Of course, you had a Kitty Pryde guest appearance. So, as a Wolverine fan, I thought this was pretty well done. So there's the Deadpool variant for number 1, and here are just all the rest of the standard covers. Here's number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good stuff. Coming in at number 4 on my top 5 Wolverine stories. Wolverine, Enemy of the State. First time Mark Millar really had a Wolverine solo story, and it was just fantastic. Mark Millar, John Romita Jr., Marvel guest stars galore. This was just a fun romp. I think this was Marvel's answer to Hush at the time. This basically came out a couple of months after Hush, and it was their answer to it. It wasn't quite as successful, but it was still a fantastic storyline, and it made me think that, and at least in my opinion, Mark Millar is probably my favorite Wolverine scribe out there, period. So here's number 20, number 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and the last issue of the story arc, number 31, which also features probably one of the top 10 greatest Wolverine Slugfests ever. So, very cool. And I remember reading, I believe, in Wizard at the time. It shows you how far back this was going. But I guess Mark Millar actually wanted to keep going and writing for the monthly Wolverine title. But they had already lined somebody up to take over after this arc had finished. So, too bad. Okay, coming in at number 3 on my all-time favorite Wolverine stories. Of course, I would have to list Weapon X, which ran through Marvel Comics Presents from issue number 72 to, let's see, number 84. And just, once again, beautifully rendered by Barry Windsor-Smith. And this was, as readers, our first glimpse into the Weapon X program. So, once again, if you're a Wolverine fan, this should be a staple in your collection. So here's number 72, part 1, 73, 74, 75, 76, and just check out these Barry Windsor-Smith covers. They're all like masterpieces in my opinion. 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84, which was the last issue of that story arc. Very, very important story arc in Wolverine history. And a damn good story. Alright, coming in at number 2, this one should be no surprise to anybody. Mark Millar strikes again and outdoes himself from his last Wolverine epic. This is Wolverine Old Man Logan, the first part, and we all know what the deal is with this. Just a fantastic Wolverine story. Wolverine in a dystopian future, a broken man basically, and basically goes all Clint Eastwood Unforgiven at the end. So awesome stuff. A definite modern classic without a doubt, and I just love the storyline. Mark Millar on story, of course, and Steve McNiven on artwork. Fantastic. One of the best Wolverine creative teams in history. So here's part 1, number 66, number 67, 68, number 69, number 70, 71, 72, and the giant size Old Man Logan special number 1, which finished off the awesome story arc. The only slight nitpick I had with the story arc is, like, come on, the Hulk, what he did with Wolverine, like, he didn't, at the end, he didn't believe that, you know, Wolverine would regenerate. And 2, how do you pass, you know, how do you basically, not to be crude, but how do you crap out adamantium claws? That just seems like a bad idea. But I guess it was one of those things that they just wrote in to have, like, a very cool moment. So, but other than that, I still really, really love this storyline. And my favorite Wolverine storyline of all time, one thing that has not changed since I was like 11. Wolverine number 1 from his miniseries, and I want to say this was the series that really put Wolverine on the map. Done by, excuse me, my allergies are out of control today. Done by, like, the uber creative team of Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. Just a fantastic story. This was before grim and gritty swept the 80s, and this was a pretty dark and mature storyline. Love it. So here's number 1, and this is probably my all-time, well, not probably, it is definitely my all-time favorite Wolverine cover. The word iconic gets thrown around a lot, but if I look at a cover and I automatically associate that cover with a character or vice versa, therefore that cover has to be iconic in my opinion. And this is the cover that I always associate Wolverine with. So, fantastic. Wolverine number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that will round out my top 5 Wolverine story arcs of all time. So here, upcoming now, is just some very cool Wolverine covers done by some of my favorite artists throughout the years. So kicking it off, Wolverine number 17 from his first ongoing series, done by the great John Byrne, who was a huge contributor into the success of Wolverine. So I felt I had to have at least a couple of Byrne covers in here. So Wolverine number 17. Number 23, another John Byrne cover. Uncanny X-Men number 234, Mark Silvestri classic, as well as this one. Uncanny X-Men number 251, the Crucifixion cover. What else do we have here? Wolverine once again from his first ongoing series. I've just always loved this cover with Wolverine wearing the Punisher's shirt, like saying that I own you. I believe this is from Wolverine Volume 2, number 36, Joe Quesada variant. Wolverine Volume 3, number 1, Jay Lee cover. Once again, from Wolverine Volume 3, one of my all-time favorite Wolverine artists, Adam Kubert. That is just a sick cover, with Wolverine having with chunks blown through him. Wolverine 302, done by Art Adams. Wolverine Origins, number 1, by the late, great Michael Turner. Wolverine Origins, number 39, done by the late, great Herb Trimpe, who was a co-creator of Wolverine. And also, I can't believe that I haven't said this in my last couple of videos, but rest in peace, Mr. Len Wein, who passed away a couple of weeks ago, creator of Wolverine, the all-new, all-different X-Men, as well as Swamp Thing. I mean, holy cow. And being the editor on a little miniseries called Watchmen. So, talk about leaving your fingerprints all over the industry. What a legacy that guy left behind. So, rest in peace, Mr. Len Wein. All right. Wolverine Origins number 50, which just features this killer Gabriel Delgado cover, one of my favorite modern artists. And Wolverine Weapon X number 4, Marvel 70th year, kind of like the last Wolverine Origins issue, a Marvel 70th year variant cover. And this one features spectacular artwork from David Finch, another one of my favorite artists. X-Men Legacy number 233, which I just love this cover. This was a prime example of me watching a YouTube video. I believe it was the Doom that showed this comic off first, and it was just one of those cases. Had to go chase it. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 590, and I guess this was the Wolverine Appreciation Month. I'm not sure, but I love this cover. What's better than a bunch of dogs playing cards? As I've said before, a bunch of Wolverines playing cards with all the iterations of Wolverine up until that time. Love that cover. Let's move some of these out of the way. And let's end it off with the Wolverine Keys of my collection. And kind of like how my other collection videos go when it comes to keys, this will be pretty much everything. Well, not everything, but keys that range from minor to medium to pretty damn major. So this is Marvel Comics Presents number 1, featuring a sweet Walt Simonson cover. And this predated Wolverine's first ongoing series. This was about as good as we got back then. So not an expensive book whatsoever, but once again, as a Wolverine fan, I feel that you should have this as a staple in your collection. Origin number 1, story that Wolverine fans were waiting for years. And this one almost cracked my top 5, but it's definitely a top 10, but I just had to, it was tough for me to keep it out of my top 5. And I've also, I really enjoyed Origin too. And now that Wolverine is back, I hope they can get this team together, or maybe Soul and Kubert again, and give us an Origin Part 3, because obviously the story is not yet complete. Ultimate X number 1, this is the Bone Claw variant, and this is the first appearance of Jimmy Hudson. An old school classic, What If Wolverine Had Killed the Hulk? What If number 31. Another comic that should be a staple in your Wolverine collection, Wolverine number 1 from his first ongoing series. And love this book, even though at the time Wolverine was sporting pretty much the silliest secret identity disguise and the silliest disguise when he was doing his old vigilante thing. He didn't want to be seeing he'd be killing in this comic, I guess. He didn't want to wear the costume that's associated with the X-Men, so he would have this like little silly fishnet mask on. Like, no one's going to recognize a 5'3", almost 300-pound dude of muscle with adamantium claws because of a fishnet mask. That's just ridiculous. And then his disguise when he was in his civilian clothes would just be basically him with a fedora and an eye patch. The 80s, man, it was a crazy time. Also from his first series, Wolverine number 10, which features a classic throwdown between him and Sabretooth. And allegedly, I guess, in continuity, this would be their first confrontation with each other, even though they met, as far as comic fans go, in Uncanny X-Men prior to this. Wolverine number 80, the infamous X-23 test tube issue. Wolverine number 88. Everyone loves Wolverine, and just about everyone loves Deadpool, so it's a no-brainer to put these two together, and I always enjoy it anytime these two characters interact. So this was the first time that Deadpool had confronted Wolverine, and it's pretty beautifully drawn by Adam Kubert, who had a great run on this title. Wolverine number 125, J. Lee variant, and this, I think it only goes for maybe like 10-15 bucks. It's not an expensive issue whatsoever. But this was the first ratio variant that I ever bought, period. So, pretty cool for the historical preference for me. Speaking of Wolverine and Deadpool, Wolverine number 154, crossover with Deadpool, with art by Rob Liefeld. And even even though I had art by Rob Liefeld, the story was still actually pretty good. Wolverine number 155, which is an obvious homage to that Incredible Hulk issue where Wolverine was facing off against the Hulk. Pretty nice. More Wolverine and Deadpool. Wolverine Annual from 1999. And I think this issue is one that kind of gets overlooked. I don't really see this a lot. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos. So I think this one might be a little overlooked. Wolverine Deadpool, the Decoy. I guess this was an online comic and they ended up releasing it for the bookshelf. So decent story, pretty funny. Book that was not on my list, and I found it by accident at a great deal for only $5. This is the 1 in 100 Adam Kubert sketch variant for Wolverine Weapon X number 1, and this is just beautiful. I don't know how good it's coming out, but look at the detail in that. Just fan-flippin-tastic. So yes, very happy to have that in my Wolverine PC. X-Force, Sex and Violence, number 1. This is the second print variant. Number 2, second print variant. And number 3, just a standard cover. But what a great, probably in my top 10 again for Wolverine story arcs. This was just a fantastic story. Very violent, very fun, and beautifully illustrated inside and out by Gabriel Dell'Otto. How can you go wrong? Uncanny X-Men number 133. This is the first Wolverine-centric X-Men issue, which, as a young X-Men fan growing up, I always looked forward to these books. I didn't own this one when it first came out because this was from the Chris Claremont and John Byrne era that was way more expensive than my young self could afford at the time. But fantastic John Byrne cover. This is the first time that Wolverine kind of cuts loose. First time that the spotlight is put specifically on Wolverine. Fantastic. Uncanny X-Men number 207, and a fantastic cover once again by John Romita Jr. And love the cover. And this is the issue that Logan ends up scootering Rachel Summers for fear that she's going Dark Phoenix. I listed this one basically just for the cover, and it's also an important book. This is the first, part of the Mutant Massacre. So, very cool, and it's one of those Marvel 25th anniversary covers with Wolverine featured prominently. As I said before, Wolverine number 10 from his first ongoing volume, as far as comic book history goes, that is the first confrontation between him and Sabretooth. But the first time as comic fans that we got to see Wolverine interact with Sabretooth was this issue right here, Uncanny X-Men number 212, which another classic cover and a very important book in Wolverine's history, in my opinion. And I will end this long video off with my two most important Wolverine comics. Giant Size X-Men number 1, and my favorite comic book in my collection, The Incredible Hulk number 181. First appearance of Wolverine, obviously, and the first time that Wolverine joins the Uncanny X-Men. Historically, no doubt the most important Wolverine comics that you can have in your collection. And I am psyched to have these. These are the two books that started me off as like a real hardcore comic book collector, where I started spending some money on my hobby. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. It had a little bit of something for everyone. I hope if you love stories, there were some classic stories in there. For cover lovers, there were some classic covers, and there were some keys in there thrown in for good measure. So I'm psyched that Wolverine's back. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but well, my allergies are out of control. Excuse me. But yeah, very happy. So that's all I have for right now. I still have to shoot another video because I was getting caught up on my YouTube videos, and I found out that I was tagged by Longshanks for top 20 covers. So obviously none of these covers will be involved, even though they very well could be. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing, liking, commenting, all the good comic books too that I've come to enjoy around here. So yeah, take it easy, and yeah, I'll see you in a little bit.